Thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. After a long day of fierce debate, the new bill for ultra-Orthodox conscription into the IDF has just passed in the Knesset by a sizable majority. This is the bill's first reading, meaning it still needs another 2 votes to pass into law. But ultra-Orthodox Knesset members are already preparing for that showdown, with one party head promising to bolt from Netanyahu's coalition if this indeed becomes the law of the land. Yaakov Litzman of the United Torah Judaism Party has promised to drop out of the coalition if the bill passes its 3rd and final reading. Under such a scenario, this would trigger the likely collapse of the government, spurring snap elections. Despite fierce rejection of the bill from ultra-Orthodox parties, though, the bill has made strange bedfellows of other parties, bringing together Netanyahu's ruling Likud with his chief rival Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid. The bill, if passed, would require ultra-Orthodox communities to meet yearly quotas for sending their youths to serve in the IDF. The quotas gradually increase over the next several years, and if they aren't met by at least 95%, then the government would theoretically penalize this by cutting funds to religious yeshivas. This new bill follows last year's ruling by the High Court, which decided that it was unconstitutional to fully exempt the ultra-Orthodox from army service on religious grounds. This community claims that they can only preserve Israel's spiritual security, though, by being excused from military service. Others, however, argue that it's high time Haredim contribute to Israel's national security, in some form anyway, same as every other Israeli citizen. The first reading passed yesterday with a vote of 63 to 39, not including abstentions. Given that margin, many believe this bill is well on its way to becoming the new law. An IDF attaché's official vehicle in a yet unnamed European country was stolen from right under the noses of his driver and bodyguards, and to make matters worse, sensitive military documents were still inside the car. According to Yediot Achronot, the incident, which was captured on CCTV video, occurred last week during a meeting between the attaché and an IDF general. In the video, you can see the thief casually walk up to the car and drive off shortly thereafter. The group of Israelis was left stunned for a moment before one of the bodyguards began to chase after. Thankfully, with the help of Audi services, the vehicle was reportedly shut down remotely. When it was found, the car was abandoned in a part of the city with a majority Muslim immigrant population, and only a wallet and a few uniforms were missing. The IDF is now investigating the incident with local authorities and are hopeful that they'll find who they're looking for. Still, Israel views the situation very seriously, and officials are typically forced to resign when such accidents occur. The Israeli government has just passed a groundbreaking new law that freezes tax funds being used to pay Palestinian terrorists. Israel collects this tax money on behalf of the Palestinian Authority in accordance with past peace deals, but the government has long accused the Palestinian Authority of funneling this money into martyrs' funds, used to pay Palestinians and their families who are convicted or killed in acts of terror against Israeli citizens. This system of paying terrorists has increasingly turned foreign nations against the Palestinians. Last year alone, the PA openly acknowledged that roughly $330 million was reserved precisely for this purpose. This not only presents a disturbing policy of encouraging and rewarding terror attacks against Israelis, but also diverts funds that could otherwise be used to build much-needed Palestinian infrastructure. Nations all over the world seem to be finally coming to grips with this implication. And in fact, just yesterday, Australia announced that it was cutting all direct aid to the PA out of fears that the money was being used to finance so-called Palestinian martyrs. Earlier this year, the United States passed a similar law, the Taylor Force Act, which slashes United States aid that goes to the Palestinian terrorists. Israel's new law freezes the money in an external account, deducting it from tax revenues collected for the PA, and Israeli leaders claim that the money could be transferred to the PA at any time if and when the policy of paying terrorists and their families is finally brought to an end. New reports show that 2 more Hamas Twitter accounts have now been blocked, with an additional 35 Hamas and Hezbollah accounts being blocked in Israel as well. The shutdowns come just a few weeks after the Israeli Public Security Ministry sent Twitter heads Jack Dorsey and Omid Kordestani a letter threatening legal action. It reads in part that the ministry is, quote, turning to you in order to demand that you immediately shut down the Twitter accounts of designated terrorist organizations responsible for the murder of thousands, namely accounts belonging to Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, and their leaders, end quote. It goes on to say that under existing Israeli anti-terror laws and laws currently on the Knesset floor, Israel would sue Twitter and other social networking platforms for the terrorist content they ignore or refuse to remove. Still, while Twitter has complied in Israeli territories, you can still access the accounts abroad. Now, there's just a message warning of, quote, potentially sensitive content, end quote. Microsoft offices in Tel Aviv seem to be expanding in the near future, according to a recent report from the Kalkalist. The problem is for other companies in the same building, however, who have now been told that they don't have to go home, but they can't stay there. Microsoft already leases one of the 4 floors in the co-working office space center, but small tenants like WeWork in Dubnov and several other small startups on other floors have all been notified of their contract's end. Microsoft has leased the rest of the building. There are some speculations that the move is both out of Microsoft's necessity to accommodate its staff and also to take out some competition, but neither WeWork or Microsoft have yet responded for comment. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.